Landlords in New York are out of luck as the state's rental assistance program has run out of money. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. So, bad news for landlords in New York State. Basically, the state has distributed all of the rental assistance money. So if you've already put in for some rental assistance to help out, since your tenant hasn't been paying rent during their state's eviction moratorium, well, you're just out of luck until they get some more funds from the federal government. And this article is going over the situation in its entirety. But before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Did you expect them to actually have enough money to pay all of the landlords the money that they are owed? I didn't. Honest truth, I didn't expect them to have enough money. I knew that there would be more landlords who basically lost all of their income due to this ridiculous eviction moratorium than they had money to pay. And so we're coming back now to the fact that, I don't think that any eviction moratorium is constitutional because it's an unlawful taking of private property for public use without just compensation, which is a Fifth Amendment violation. Okay, so New York State is one of the worst offenders, and their eviction moratorium doesn't end until like mid-January of 2022. So landlords out there are still suffering. But let's get into this article and see what it says. So this article comes from the realdeal.com, and it says, state pulls the plug on rent relief. Governor Hochul has asked for almost $1 billion in additional funding. And let's see what it says. New York's portal for emergency rental assistance will stop accepting new applications Sunday night, shutting out potentially hundreds of thousands of landlords and their tenants. Governor Kathy Hochul, in a press release Friday afternoon, said the state had earmarked virtually all of the $2.4 billion in available funding to applicants and had requested another $996 million from the Treasury Department. Absent that federal infusion, the portal will close to new applications at 10 p.m. on November 14th, according to the State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance. Yeah, and from what I've read in a lot of these articles, and this is bad for especially the small mom and pop landlords, okay? The big players, okay? I'm talking about the big apartment owners, the ones who own hundreds or thousands of units. They're the ones who have big staff working for them, and they are the ones who got all of the rental assistance and rent relief applications in the very first, okay? So they're getting the biggest chunk of this change. The small mom and pop landlords, on the other hand, they don't have a staff. A lot of the times they're just working for themselves. So if you're like me, you're working a full-time job and you have one tenant who isn't paying, or maybe two tenants that aren't paying, then you have to go through, when you're not at your regular job, you have to go through, get all these applications sent in, make sure everything is working out, make sure your tenant gets all their applications in and all their stuff that they need to the state as well. And that takes a lot of time. Okay, so if you forgot anything, or if you have to submit more additional paperwork, then that's going to take even more time. So what they were finding was a lot of the small mom and pop landlords aren't getting the rental assistance. Meanwhile, a lot of these bigger landlords who have the staff, etc., were getting the grand majority of this money. So what it means when they run out of money like they just did is that a lot of small mom and pop landlords are just out of luck. And that sucks, okay? That's awful. Oh, man. And I hope they get this additional infusion. And it's a stopgap measure to just barely keep these landlords operating temporarily. I don't want the big landlords to go out of business either, but I feel for the small landlords, especially, who have to jump through these hoops when they're still trying to work a full-time job and do everything else in their lives. With 278,700 applications submitted and only 168,000 households approved, the decision means that more than 100,000 will get nothing from this potentially last round of funding. The Community Housing Improvement Program, a landlord group, estimates that at least 162,000 additional renters in the state have yet to apply. Wow. Okay, so yeah, they've got 100,000 landlords who potentially could get nothing, without getting this additional nearly $1 billion. So yeah, that's awful news. Okay. I just wonder how many of those landlords are small mom and pop ones and how many are big ones. Or are they talking about 100,000 tenants and some of those could be with the same landlord? I don't know. The article doesn't really clarify, but we'll assume for now that they're talking about landlords. Hochul's announcement drew criticism from landlord groups and tenant attorneys alike. Even if the funding is exhausted, keeping the portal open would help the state gauge the remaining need, they argue. The Community Housing Improvement Program applauded the governor's request for more funding, but emphasized that $996 million is far from enough. More than 100,000 New Yorkers with significant rent arrears have not yet applied for ERAP, said Jay Martin, CHIP's executive director, referring to the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. The trade group estimates the state's total rent debt is near $6 billion, or twice what New York would receive if the governor's request were approved. So, I got a couple of questions here. Okay, it says that nearly 100,000 New Yorkers with significant arrears haven't applied for the rental assistance program yet? Well, why not? What's holding them up? And this goes back to the fact that with the state's eviction moratorium in place, it has always been my belief that tenants will wait until the last minute until they know that, I'm about to actually lose my place. I better apply for rental assistance now. Instead of applying for it months ahead, months before the eviction moratorium ended, they will wait until the day it ends or the week it ends, and then at the last minute put in for it so they just barely don't lose their home. I mean, that's how ridiculous all of this can be. Those renters and their housing providers will be in serious trouble if the government doesn't take further action, Martin added. This is why the state needs to implement a permanent rent assistance program to protect tenants and owners. Judith Goldiner, attorney at the Legal Aid Society, said while the state will likely qualify for the nearly $1 billion requested, shutting down the portal risks problems at relaunch. The ERAP rollout was mired by a glitchy application system, unclear requirements, and an unhelpful helpline, landlords said. This move is premature, and closing the ERAP portal with demand for relief still high will traumatize our clients still in need of these critical funds, Goldiner said in a statement. Yeah, closing the portal doesn't really make much sense, and it would make more sense to leave it open so that they would at least be able to say how many people actually need the rental assistance. People should be able to apply for it, even if they don't have the funds available, because they probably will get these funds from the federal government. I really don't think the federal government's going to be like, you know what, no, we don't have any more funds, especially when so few of these billions of dollars have actually been distributed. Now, they keep on, flooding the market with all this cash, etc. It is causing more inflation, but at this point, I believe that the need of the landlords is so high, and all of this was caused by the government. So the need of the landlords to get the money that they are owed is so high that they should be getting these funds from the federal government. Now, going back a paragraph where, this tenant rights person or whoever the hell this was talking about putting in a permanent rental assistance program. I mean, give me a break, okay? Now, we already have a low-income housing program known as Section 8, but putting in another permanent rental assistance program, you're just telling all low-income people that, hey, you never have to pay rent again. The government has your back, right? What is that? That is socialism, pure socialism, okay? The government should not be paying people's rent for them, okay? This was supposed to be a temporary thing. This was supposed to be something because the government told people they couldn't go to work because of the pandemic. They told them that it wasn't safe to go to work. Well, the world is returning back to normal. People are able to go back to work. Unemployment rates have dropped. There are jobs everywhere. There are vaccines that help prevent illness. I mean, everything has changed. Yet you think that this rental assistance program needs to become permanent? Give me a break. I don't believe that, and I'll never believe it. So, yeah, bad news for people out in New York who basically had already applied for the rental assistance program. But before I leave, I have one more little thing that I want to show you, and it's coming from Fox8.com. And this article says, "Please don't shoot me. I'm the homeowner. Police chase ends in man's kitchen." And this doesn't really have to do much with landlords, but I wanted to throw a picture up on the screen so you could see this because I thought it was pretty funny. So we'll end with this and talk about a ridiculous situation. After this police chase, this vehicle launched through the air and landed in this person's house, and he just happened to be in it. And well, I'll throw it on the screen so that you can see it.